Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today. If you want to follow along, we will be in the book of Genesis, chapter number 3, beginning in verse 16. And we will pick up there as if you're able, if you would, as you're turning there with one hand, if you would, like, share, comment on the post with the other hand. And we will continue here looking at this judgment of sin, this first judgment. Verse 16 says, Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So, keep in mind, they had just committed sin. Satan had seduced the woman, had deceived the woman, tricked her into taking of the forbidden fruit. Then the man had deliberately made a choice to follow the woman into sin, and Satan has been, the judgment, the curse has been delivered upon Satan, and now the man and the woman are going to stand before God and hear the details of their judgment. As we think about the judgment of God, several things to keep in mind. First of all, God's judgment is always right. We may not think so. We may not like it. We may not agree with it. But God always, His justice is always right. Again, whether we like it or not, and the judgments here are designed as they match the sin. Second thing we know about, because we know they're right, then we also know that God's judgment are with a purpose. God doesn't just randomly throw around judgment. I'm quite certain that there are parents out there in our cruel and evil world who randomly smack their children, hit their children, punish their children, and because they had a bad day, because the parent had a bad day. There's no real fault to it. And I'm certain that there are times when the judgment doesn't fit the crime, that the judgment is far more severe, or even sometimes not severe enough. God's judgment is always right. It's always fair, and it always comes with a purpose. God's judgment, as hard as it is for us to comprehend, also comes with mercy. He's judging us on a far greater scale. I think maybe you hear parents say sometimes, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. And I think as children, when we hear that, we think, I'm not buying that at all. But as parents, we know that, again, a good parent, not all parents, but a good parent, we don't like to discipline our children. It would be great if they could make it to adulthood and us never have to raise our voice or exercise any judgment. But when we do have to judge, when we do have to bring discipline, it's for their good. That's our intention anyway. And God is judging Adam and Eve with a purpose. And there's mercy in that judgment. You may say, where's the mercy? Well, God could have banished them from Him. What God is doing is trying to draw them back to Him. And so there is mercy there. He's trying to teach them to avoid sin, to avoid the deceit of Satan, to learn to trust Him. He had told them, listen, you can have anything in this garden, but this one thing, and just trust me. Trust me in this. You don't need this tree. You don't need it to trust Him, to follow Him. And so He's trying to get them to see that. And in this first judgment, as he speaks to the woman, he's talking about, he says, one of the places that you're going to bear this judgment, and every woman that comes after you is in the pain of sorrow. And that you will childbearing will be hard. And I think anybody who's had children knows that it's not, not just the actual delivery of the child, but there's a lot of sorrow that comes usually over the years in raising children. And someone has said, when they're little, they step on your feet. When they get older, they step on your heart. And I think, again, the woman, here he says, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow. The women typically, perhaps not always, tend to be more tender-hearted. They feel those things, I think, typically much more than men do. And I realize I'm treading on dangerous territory in our politically correct society, but that typically the woman is more tender-hearted, and she feels more pain and sorrow and worries over those children throughout their life, more than typically. I'm not saying fathers are bad guys or don't care about their kids. But he says you're gonna suffer for this, and women who come after you will suffer for this sin that you have committed here. But again, this judgment is for a purpose, just as all of God's judgment is for a purpose. That He's trying to draw them back to Him, to get them again to learn to trust in Him. And none of us want to sign up for judgment. None of us want discipline. But it's good to remember that, again, that just as a loving parent disciplines their children, I think most of us, especially those who have grown in age and even had children themselves, know that one of the greatest things you could do, one of the worst things you could do to your child, is never judge them, never discipline them, never teach them to behave, just turn them loose on the world. And who knows what's going to happen to them. They're going to run afoul of the law or other people. The greatest act of love we can do to a child is discipline and teaching them right from wrong and how to be a constructive member of society and love the Lord. And God is trying here with His first couple to teach them that the importance of following Him, that even if it requires judgment, it was for their good. And so a loving God judges His people. Again, we don't like it. It's not, just as any child doesn't like being disciplined by their parents. But I think most of the folks, probably especially who would take a few moments early in the morning to listen to somebody talk about Scripture, have grown and are mature enough to look back and, my parents' discipline. Well, I didn't always like it. Maybe sometimes I didn't even deserve it at the time. Maybe it didn't fit the crime. But thank God we had parents who loved us enough to teach us right from wrong. And thank God we have a God who loves us enough to teach us right from wrong. Think about it. You have a good day. We'll see you here tomorrow morning.